What's up, guys? I'm Dwayne,
I'm Alicia.
and this is Blackboard Gaming, where I teach you about all these great board games that are out there, waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya,
Today we're going to talk about a game called Succulent.
Succulent is a game published by Renegade Games. It's designed by J. Alex Convern and is illustrated by Anna Daviscourt. Let's go to the table for an overview of how the game is played. Succulent is a 2 to 4 player game where we the players are master gardeners competing with each other to complete projects that will help gain us the reputation of having the greenest thumb in the community. The game comes with 8 garden plots that we will place randomly on the table like this to start the game. We will first place 4 garden plots in a row face down, and then 2 garden plots at the bottom and 2 garden plots at the top turned 90 degrees. And then we will turn over the 2 middle tiles to show your starting garden. Then we would gather all the flower beds, all the cuttings, and all the water droplets together based by color and type, and we will place them next to the game board to form the supply. Next, we will shuffle up the project cards and put them in a face down pile next to the game board. And then, based on the number of players, we reveal a certain number of project cards. So, since we're setting up for a 2-player game, we will reveal 5 project cards. To finish game setup, each player will randomly get a greenhouse. They will also get a small flower bed, a medium flower bed. They will get 14 flowers of their chosen player color. They will also get a pawn, gardener pawn, matching that color. Now, when the game starts, each player on their turn, they will have to take a mandatory action, and then they get to take an optional action. Now, when they take their mandatory action, they can do one of 2 things. Now, the first possible action I could take as my mandatory action is to place one of my flower beds. So, when placing my flower bed, I have to place it where there are flowers, so I can't go off the board or nothing like that. I also cannot place this on top of somebody else's flower bed, and I can't take it off the edge, which I'll show you later. But let's say I take this flower bed and I place it here. Okay. Now, as you can see, I'm covering up a purple and a red. So, I will take a purple and a red cutting from the supply and put this by my player board. Now, another thing, as you can see these little blue water droplets on the board, whenever you cover one of those up, which I did, I will also get one of these water droplets to put onto my player board, which I'll show you in a minute, into my greenhouse rather. And then, before I do anything else, I will lay claim to that flower bed, and I will take one of my flower pieces from the supply and place it in the circle, like so. The other possible action I could take as my mandatory action is by gaining flower beds. To gain a flower bed, I will take my gardener and place it onto one of these project cards. So let's say I place it on this one here. Now, at the bottom of the project cards are pictures of different size flower beds. So since I placed my gardener here, I would get this large flower bed and place it next to my greenhouse. So let's say later in the game, the other player had placed their gardener here. And I want to go ahead and get some more garden flower beds. So I can't go to the same one I'm already at, and I cannot go to a card that already has a gardener on it. So I'm going to take my gardener and go here. And that would get me 2 medium flower beds to place next to my greenhouse. Now that I've taken my mandatory action, I can take my optional action. And my optional action is to complete a project, which is what I'm trying to do to get points. Now, to complete a project, the cost of completing the project is at the top of the cards. So this one would need 2 purple, a green, and a black. This one would need 2 green and a red. Now, let's say I wanted to complete this project here. So I would take these cuttings, return them to the supply, and I will complete this project, which will give me 4 points at the end of the game. Also, it will give me an immediate bonus of an orange cutting. Now, because there's a gardener here, whoever gardener is here, including my own, will get a large water droplet from the supply and place it onto their greenhouse. So what are we doing with all these water droplets? Well, if you take a look at your greenhouse, you'll see that it's split up into sections, and each section has a certain color of flower, and it has these water droplet spaces next to them. Now, whenever a player gains a water droplet, they immediately place it into their greenhouse. Now, these water droplets help you do 2 things. The first thing it helps you do is it helps you complete projects. So, for example, let's say I wanted to complete this project here, okay? In order to complete that project, I would need 2 purple, an orange, a red, and a brown, or is that a black? I'm not sure what that color is. But, so, let's say these are the cuttings that I have in my supply, but I'm missing an orange. But if you look to my greenhouse, my section with the orange flower is filled with small water droplets. So I can take these water droplets, remove them from my greenhouse in this area, and that would take the place of my orange cutting. So now I can complete this project. Okay? Now another example is, let's say I wanted to complete this project here. So to complete this project, I would need a purple, a green, an orange, and a brown. Now, this is what I have available for me, but I'm missing a green. So, of course, my green flower section is filled, and I will do the same thing, but with one difference. I never lose my large water droplet. I would just remove the small water droplet from the board, but the large water droplet stays in its place. Now, the other thing that the water droplets help you do, particularly the larger water droplets, let's take a closer look. And you can see that some of these water droplets spaces have point values on them. At the end of the game, any of these spaces that have a large water droplet in it will score me extra points at the end of the game. So this large water droplet has a 1 next to it. So that will give me 1 point at the end of the game. So the players would get water droplets by covering up the visible water droplets in the garden with their flower bed. They would get water droplets when their gardener is removed from a project card that is getting completed. They will also get water droplets when their flower bed is adjacent to a flower bed that is being placed. For example, let's say I'm placing this flower bed right here. Okay? So, by placing that flower bed, I will get these 2 cuttings to go into my supply. I would get a water droplet because I covered that water droplet up. And then each player that has a flower bed next to that flower bed that was placed will each get a water droplet. So this guy will get a water droplet. This guy will get a water droplet. This guy wouldn't get one because he's next to it, he's not adjacent, he's diagonal. Now, this will trigger another thing. Whenever the last water droplet in the garden that's visible is covered up, the player that placed this flower bed must reveal another garden tile. And they can pick any one that they want to reveal. So let's say they choose to pick this one. They would just flip it over. So now they got new spots to place their flower beds. So gameplay will continue going round and round until one player has either used up all of their flowers or they had completed a certain number of projects based on player count. So in a 2-player game, that will be 8 projects. A 3-player game, that will be 7 projects. And a 4-player game, that will be 6 projects. When that happens, the players would take one more round, finish that round, and then they would do one more round, and then that will be the end of the game. And then everybody would count up their victory points. You would count up the victory points that you got from your project cards. You would count up the victory points that you get from the spaces that have your large water droplets. And then you will also get a half victory point for each of your excess cuttings, small water droplets, and flower beds in your supply. You would tally those points up, and whoever has the most points will be the winner of Succulent. So when I first discovered this game, and I saw the box, and it's called Succulent, and, being someone who works in the culinary field, succulent means delicious and juicy. So when I saw the box art of this game, I was confused because I'm like, okay, what does this have to do with plants? So I came home and I asked you about it, and you looked it up.
And succulent also is a group of plants that retain water. Cacti are a type of succulent because they live in dry climates or dry soil.
Okay, so that helped me out. I knew you being a teacher. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So anyway, let's go. What did you think about the thing?
Okay, so initially when you told me what it was about, trying to build a garden, I thought that sounded boring. However, when you laid it out on the table and I saw the setup,
Okay.
it looked so pretty that I was intrigued.
Okay, well, let's jump right into art and components. You obviously like the art and the components. What did you like about those?
So, the first thing that really caught my eye, honestly, were the water droplets, especially the small water droplets. They're just so pretty in that iridescent quality. I just thought they were so pretty. The cuttings are cute. And actually, the greenhouse art is just beautiful. So the art is just gorgeous.
Oh, okay. What I liked about the components is I love the gardener pieces.
Yeah, those are
The gardener pieces, they're unique to each player.
Yes.
So I thought that was real cool. Now, and I think the greenhouses are really pretty, like yourself. But anyway, I had one issue.
What was that?
So, like the flowers, okay, so the cutting, the red cuttings,
Yeah.
red flowers, orange cuttings, orange flowers,
Yeah.
the purple and the purple.
Yes.
But the blue or the green or whatever it was on the card, it looked like a light blue.
Yeah.
But the cuttings look like a light gray.
Yeah.
And you were able to put 2 and 2 together because they're the lightest color. So I'm like, okay, that goes with that.
Yes.
And the same thing with the other cuttings, because on the greenhouse, the flowers look black to a dark blue.
Yeah.
Whereas the cuttings look like a dark brown, but
Yeah.
they're the darkest ones in the game.
Exactly.
So I wasn't crazy, I wasn't crazy about that because, I'm an old guy. So my eyesight is not that great.
Yeah.
So, I'm like looking close at the cars and, but other than that, I do like the components of the game. So, what do you think about the mechanics?
Well, I love the mechanics. The tile laying is the main mechanic, but it does have set collection and resource management. So the mechanics make the game fun and engaging.
Yeah, I mean, everybody I love tile laying, you know.
And honestly, I really like set collecting. That's fun too.
Yeah, you know, a lot of guys like collecting, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so do you think this game will be easy to teach?
This game is, yes, this game is easy to teach and easy to learn. And honestly, I think a kid could play this game.
Yeah, so I like it because it's really simple. So like I like a little bit heavier board games, but I like playing lighter games that bring other people in, you know, and I think this game does that. It's a beautiful game. The box cover is beautiful. It's just like really nice pieces, and I really did enjoy this game playing this game with you. So
Overall, it's very aesthetically appealing. It's easy to learn, easy to play, and I agree with you. It's a great entree into this type of game. It's easy to learn. It looks beautiful, and it's not hard to kind of learn how to be strategic and maximize your points as well.
yeah, I really did like that, and I'm looking forward to playing this game again.
Yes.
You know, of course, it's going to stay in our collection.
Yes.
And there you have it, Succulent by Renegade Games. If you like the content of this video, please hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And like I said, this is Blackboard Gaming. I'm Dwayne.
I'm Alicia.
And we will see you next time.